Yeah, no, we had that the other day too. It was kind of nice. Good evening. Welcome to the Westborough Advisory Finance Committee, September 5th, 2024, our third meeting of fiscal 2025 here in Town Hall. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body, as well as members of the public, may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be here at the location posted, and it is possible that all members of the public body may attend remotely with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting may be accessed via the link in the agenda. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by in-person attendance or by accessing the meeting remotely as noted. Additionally, the meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Verizon Channel 28, Charter Channel 192, or via Westborough TV's online platforms at westboroughTV.org and youtube.com/WestboroughTV. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed by Westborough TV, and we thank them for that. So, I see nobody here for public forum, so we will move to the next item. After public comment is STM article and vote. So at least on my screen, I will share the warrant, if I can. Bring that up. Share. There we go. Okay, so we're on draft 2 of the warrant. And I also have have them both available. Don't know, I didn't share this. Okay, so I have to share that document instead. Stop share. Okay. Nope, wrong one. Sorry about that, I think. Yeah. Share. Article worksheet, that's the one I want. Very good, okay. So I thought we could get started first to review kind of where we were last week or last time and what we sort of decided. Article 1, the prior year bills, there are none, so there's no action to be taken there. The next 3 we're arranging for information. Jean has spoke to police chief, and we're tentatively on the 16th with him.
He confirmed.
He confirmed. Okay, we're on the 16th with him. Christie will speak to the landfill with Jen from the Board of Health. And John should talk to the Finance Department expenses, so that's our future meetings. Prashant has arranged for the DPW to visit, and they're coming on September 23rd with Chris Payot, and that covers Articles 3, 7, the amend storm water, which is 14 currently, and there's a new one somewhere in there, storm water, sewer improvements.
6.
Yeah, 6. So those we will cover at that time. The fire department, we don't have an amount, so we can't vote it yet, but we as a group decided there was no visit required. The cart path repair, we decided no visit required from recreation, and so I'll be looking to vote that tonight, or at least discuss it and prove that point. Jumping down to Community center, obviously not ready yet, and we'll get some visit when that happens. Community center project, community preservation budget. I reached out to the CPC, and they have a meeting, I think, on Monday or so. And so when they have finalized what they'll be asking, we'll set up a date for them to come and tell us what their plan is. So that is not scheduled yet, but being planned. That's Article 9. Affordable Housing Trust, we decided there was no visit required. They did reach out, and I told them that the group felt there was no reason that they had to come. So that's another one we could vote tonight. The next one, accept MGL Muni Investment. John will speak to that when he's here at a future meeting. Contract term 5 years is a new one. We hadn't talked about it. I am going to ask Christy whether that's IT or, because it is an IT contract, or whether that's something she will handle or John will handle. So that will be at a future meeting. The B-Wall easements, we decided that if it was all just gifts, no eminent domain, and no paying for property, we didn't need a visit from planning. And Jen Gingrich did confirm that, so we can vote that one tonight if we so desire. And then the last two, zoning bylaws and other bylaws, we will have our guest planning department also on September 16th. So Jen will come and explain those. I don't know if you noticed, but only 4 pages of the thing use up all the articles except the last 2, and they're like a dozen or something. So when I went to print the second version, I just stopped at page 4 until we need the last. I mean, it was a lot. It had how many pages is this thing?
I went double-sided.
Yeah.
27.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It's a lot. Anyway, so anyway, we'll cover that on 16. So to that point, let me now bring up the actual warrant article for that. Really going to need 2 screens at some point. I'll keep this up. Okay. So the first one, I'm interested if people are still interested. It's still Article 5, cart path repair. I'll make it bigger. So let's talk about this. Last time we discussed this, we decided that it's coming out of country club earnings, I think, and that none of us particularly felt the need to discuss it in detail.
I do have one question. Since I know nothing about the golf course, are these cart paths in any way impacting or impacted?
Get closer to the mic.
Are these paths in any way impacted by the building and the renovations that might happen? Or are they far enough away from the building to not get disturbed during the building renovation period?
I think I can comment and be
Yeah,
pretty
you know,
self-assured that the building will not impact the cart paths. These are within the golf course itself, not
Okay.
adjacent to the building.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can't imagine cart path, there's only a couple times the carts are that close, right?
Yeah.
Clueless.
No,
it's a good
question.
That's a good question. So is everybody still okay with that? So, someone wanna make a motion that the money is coming from the Country Club Enterprise Fund?
McMahon, I move to recommend recommend the town vote to transfer from Country Club retained earnings a sum of $25,000 for purpose of repairing 3 cart paths for the golf course.
Bradley, second.
Bradley, a second. Any further discussion? If not, I think we can vote. Oh, we don't have to vote roll call necessarily. We just record it.
Mm-hmm. Jane stepped
Should we
out.
wait for Jane to come
Oh.
back?
I didn't realize Jane had left.
Yeah,
My bad.
I didn't either until I just looked up.
Okay, let's wait a minute.
Did you intentionally skip over 4?
We don't know what the fire department contract is. So how would you vote for it, or?
Yeah,
It
no,
probably
yep,
almost doesn't matter, but it seems
Yep.
like we need a
Yep.
number.
Yep.
That's why.
So, yes,
I mean, what if the number was
Yep.
$6 billion or something? We might have, how are we gonna pay for that?
Yep, no, that's a good point.
I do agree that there's not much discussion on that one. Okay, well, while we're waiting for her, I will just talk vaguely about Article 10. That was the one to transfer to the Affordable Housing Trust like we've done before from the stabilization fund. In essence, Pulte money that was specific to being used for affordable housing, or I believe senior. Yeah. And so that would be the next one that we would discuss.
how does the amount get picked?
I think it had to do with how much we get for how many buildings each year,
Okay.
I believe.
It's just,
That first time, it was like 3 buildings worth or something like that.
it's just interesting numbers.
Yeah, and they're even in cents.
Right, that's where I was like, and who picked this number?
So just to follow up, you
Yeah.
said it could be used for affordable housing and what else?
Possibly something connected to seniors?
Yeah, I don't remember all the requirements, whether this stipend portion had to go just to affordable housing. But the original agreement with them had, there could be some benefit to seniors, I think, which means you could potentially use it. Some of this Pulte money, I think they're planning on using maybe for the senior center stuff.
That was kind of where, you're starting to think like me, Walter.
I think that was part of the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Maybe
let's get
years
back to the original topic. We have a motion and a second on the cart repair path article, Jane. And if you, no questions, comments, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the cart path as, right, so that's 9-0, with everybody in favor. Okay.
First one.
So Article 10, if we want to ask those questions, we can ask and come back and do this another day. I don't know
Not to
all the
delay it, but I
answers.
would be curious if that's
Or
money
we
that
can
could,
vote it and have.
if that could be appropriate, aid it to the senior center, I'd be interested.
It does say in the explanation, this money is delegated for construction of affordable housing by
Okay.
the town, so I'm suspecting at least this, I
Okay.
think they're talking about some of the general Pulte money, which could be used the other way.
Okay, all right, I'm good.
So everybody good with that? How about a motion, if you can figure it out?
McMahon, I move to recommend the town vote to transfer $201,194.34 from the stabilization fund to the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust.
Second?
Clap second.
Any further discussion? No? All in favor? Anybody opposed, abstained? Okay, that's 9-0-0. Okay, the next one is Article 13. And I'm still only on page 4 of the warrant here. BWALT easements, and although it says acquired by purchase, gift, and/or eminent domain, I was told that it is purely by gift. These easements for the BWALT trail, so there are approximately 6 of them. And is there any comments, discussion?
Because the article lists all the possible ways, and that always seems to really hang town meeting up, even when we say out loud, it's all gifts. Is there any possibility of getting, I mean, we're early in it, to get the wording to just say by gift?
I don't know. Usually, it seems like not, from my experience in these things, because it's always done that way.
Right.
I would agree. I would like to see eminent domain pulled out.
Yeah.
I don't like setting the precedent that that's going to be on the record, that we're just so willing to take easements.
Right. And it would make,
I would agree, even if it says purchase or gift, there's no funds allocated, so I'm okay with that language, because there's no funds allocated, but eminent domain,
Yes.
you're
they-
right, like we're granting an authority that maybe we don't intend to, or the town doesn't intend to execute, but we've given the authority.
Correct.
Well, we could be clear that we support the receiving the gift of that in our message. We don't have the ability to change the warrant, although we could ask.
No, we
But-
don't.
Good, I know, it's,
I mean, this is
given
so,
enough of us sort of feel that way, it seems like it's
Right.
worth asking.
Sure.
Right.
John, do you have any comment? John Arnold?
Yeah, hang on, I just got done. If just the vote, quantum of vote would be different if there were eminent domain, because it would have to be like a 2/3 vote where the others aren't. It's probably the case that they're used boilerplate just in case it's necessary. But you could always provide feedback to say if it sounds like the motion is not expected to have eminent domain, you could ask if it would make things easier to remove it, to remove that from the warrant. But so
and
the fact that it's in the
that's
warrant doesn't really have an effect, but it obviously could have an effect on
So
your
I will
recommendation,
ask, and we'll do this
effect on the
another
vote.
day.
I mean, one option would be to vote it down, and if they wanna come back with the easement, with the,
I just don't know if
It's
they're
not
able to
posted,
have the
though, so
wording
we
like
can
that,
ask.
or whether
mean-
the Secretary of State or somebody
a legal
requires you
counsel.
to have that wording.
Did you hear me?
No, there's
No.
no,
Can you hear me?
there's no requirement.
Because the wording's been that way forever, but doesn't mean it's correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
John's
don't know.
tried to,
I
John
won't-
tried to
I'm
say
not gonna-
something that we didn't hear.
Can you hear me now?
We
Can you hear
heard
me?
your first statement, John.
Oh, you did? Okay, I was just saying, so eminent domain has an impact obviously on your recommendation,
I can't hear you.
and it would have an impact on the quantum of vote, and so you could always provide feedback that it's easier for you to discuss it if they don't intend to use eminent domain, to just remove it from the warrant, but.
Okay, yeah. I will, we'll do this another day. And I will provide feedback, that, it could say purchase or gift, but we would prefer that eminent domain be removed. Or find out why that's not possible.
Can we, instead of striking information from it, can we ask them how they plan to acquire those easements?
Well, they
We
already said
did.
gift.
They're
We
all
did.
gifts.
They're all gifts.
I already
But
did that.
can they specify that in the warrant?
That's what we're gonna
That's
ask.
what we're discussing.
Yeah. No, but instead of striking eminent domain from the warrant, can we ask them to specifically determine in the warrant how they will acquire those easements?
Meaning even if they left that language, but to clarify in the actual warrant.
That
the
wouldn't have
intention
legal
this
weight,
time.
I don't think.
I don't know where you would put that. So, I mean, the motion is actually what you're voting on, so.
Right. And if you put it in the commentary, it doesn't have weight of the
Hmm.
motion.
Okay. I have no problem.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's too early to expect motions because this is still being
This is
finalized.
version 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we
No,
don't
I'm
have the
sharing that for
actual
Alan's
motions,
point.
but whether or not they are willing to change that,
Wording.
or will they change it when they bring it to the
Town
town
council.
attorney or whatever, I don't know. But I can ask. Doesn't hurt. And bring it another day. Okay, so those two are done. And, I guess that is all. We'll see whether there are any other new ones. Yeah, there's 27 pages, so page 5, yeah, there's 3 bylaws that take up 23 pages, I guess. So that'll be interesting. Okay, very good. Okay, some other stuff. we wanna just go over the schedule while we are on this sort of topic, even though it's a little out of order. Here we go. So my feeling right now is that, oh, I didn't share this, I'm sorry. I can see it. Okay. My feeling right now is that we will not need a meeting on the 12th or 19th. The committee expressed a preference for Monday meetings, and that we will probably need all the meetings near the end before getting R&R done. So for now, at least, I think, unless people have other opinion, we've been able to schedule the guests to come on the Mondays. So I think we could skip next Thursday, if hearing no objections.
No objection.
And I'm not sure we need the following one, given the limited warrant. And we will we are at the same time starting to do some of this budget stuff, like on Monday. We'll at least meet the superintendent and get a chance to talk to them about school stuff. Okay. So that's okay? Nobody's objecting to either of those being planned. So right now I will plan on not having a meeting on the 12th, and we will hold the 19th as a probable not for now. Very good. Okay, budget topics, including budget planning, updates, and wrap-up. On the subject of wrap-up, we did receive from John the wrap-up end of year documents we requested. So the year is, fiscal '24 is closed, and we have that in PDF and also Excel dump in 3 buckets. School
Thank
being
you.
separated out this time, and the enterprise funds being separated out from the general budget. I didn't have a chance to go through it in any detail. I'm gonna guess most of us didn't. But at some point, we probably wanna go through that, especially in context of future budgets, seeing, I started doing some cute color coding in the Excel one of, did they spend, less than 80% of a line, it shows up in red or something, cause those are interesting, or less, and then sort of 80 to 95 or something, and then very proud that we used up our entire expense budget to within a penny on the AFC, I guess. That's because of the transfer we did, which made it exact. And a little bit under on the salary
Wages.
range. So anybody have comments on
so
that while
the-
we're on that?
Yeah, the 2 comments or questions I would have, I'd be interested in somebody who has more Excel ability than me.
Jay.
If we took the line items for all the town budgets, what's the bottom line of, budget versus actual? I didn't see anywhere you could add that up easily.
Yeah, so I started summing it in Excel and doing a little bit, building some pivot tables and creating some rules so I could look at it in different ways. But I didn't get very far because we just got it, so I think
Yeah.
next time we
yeah,
will have
that-
a little
that-
bit more.
And my other comment would be, it still seems like we have some very old warrant articles, and I've
Yeah.
heard justifications for trying to keep them on. I'm not sure I agree with those, with the reasoning behind that. I think, things that are more than 5 years old, we should close out, so. if-
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of 2014 and 2015 articles. I don't know whether he did the purge thing yet for those. I don't know when they did that or when.
I think
but,
we have to close them at town meeting is the problem.
Probably, but it might be. I mean, some of them are not that significant, and then there's a lot that are more recent, of course, because the equipment hasn't come, which
Sure.
all makes
Yeah.
good sense,
No,
and
that
that's
I
within
understand.
5 years.
Yeah.
But it does seem like, I don't completely disagree that if we seemingly sometimes authorize something for a project, and then they get a grant or something, and so the money's never used, and it just seems to sit there. I don't know what breadth they have for reappropriating it, but it'd be a good discussion with John and Christie, I guess, on that. Some are school things too, so I guess find out. But
And then just on the topic of the schools, and I have to say the school part I understand the least on, but my understanding is they have buckets of money outside the budget itself. It'd be nice to understand what's in those buckets.
So that was one thing we had talked about, and I think it'll be an interesting conversation to have on Monday. So yeah, what we see from them is a general fund budget. We don't see an all funds budget, and I would love to see sort of an all funds budget, right? Because in theory, there are things we're paying for in the general budget that maybe could be shifted to some grant funding, or there are things funded with grant revenue that pose a risk in the future, right? So if we were to fund half of our teachers on grants, that's great. Unless the grants go away and all of a sudden our next year's budget dramatically increases because we're carrying so much on grants with a certain life.
I
And
think
so
that-
just having an idea of sort of where things could shift and what our risk is, because I think that's what we're not seeing, is really what's our risk in the future.
I think that also holds for the police departments and the fire departments who have
Yeah.
special funds. And I think when we talk about this, we should not be focused solely on the schools, because there are other departments using grants and things.
it's not using the grants and things, I think they're.
Well, to circumvent the budget process in the way that we see the budget.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think, for instance, they have shown us clearly in the schools that, out of the 900 teachers or whatever it is, these 150 are getting paid for by, what, some method, whether it's community education
Revolving
or
fund or
stuff like that.
grant or, yeah.
The-
But you're right, I don't believe we've ever seen the various accounts in those to that detail. But usually when someone gets a grant for a very specific thing, some of them require matching funds, and then we are aware of them, and then some we aren't.
Right, some we
Yeah.
definitely aren't.
I mean, the reality is, right, using the grants is great. It's just it, to some extent, poses a risk that I would really like to see, even if it's not in the budget that's presented at town meeting, in some sort of big picture view.
Yeah.
Well,
Some
the-
narrative, yeah.
The other thing that I'm concerned about with grants is sometimes someone will pursue a grant for a small, I'm going to use the word relatively small amount of money that causes us to spend a much larger amount of money, or to make a change that maybe isn't desirable in pursuit of this grant funds.
But if we are spending more money, we're spending it somewhere, and we spend it somewhere, we're generally involved. Unless, the school board, either the school board or the town meeting is involved in everything that you're saying we would have to spend additional money on.
The pay-as-you-throw is a case where there was a grant that people chased in order they chased a grant, which put us into pay-as-you-throw for the Board of Health. But if that grant hadn't been there, we may not have pursued it in the same way at the select board level. And I don't think that shows up as a budget item.
Okay.
I mean, that's my one example, so.
I think, yeah, okay. But I think they set the policy because they were trying to reduce the trash expense, and the grant was a way to conveniently
It's not the
cover some of
trash
it.
expense that they were concerned about, it's the trash volume by weight. I should be careful. The tonnage that is going through
Which
Harvey's.
is expense.
Well, it turns out there's different buckets, just like we have budgets. The garbage goes into different buckets and they have different costs.
lost me, but. Okay, more general comments? No? Good. Okay, I have no updates for this year's budget, and I guess our next thing will be to meet and introduce ourselves, at least to the school superintendent, let her get to know us a bit. I don't expect in-depth answers on fiscal '26 budget at this meeting, but more, first of all, introduction, because she's never met most of you, and get out some of your interests of what you would like to see. But I don't think you should expect to see it on Monday. You should expect it. This is a process, but, and that's good. Okay. On liaison reports, I would like to share. Okay, at our last meeting, we have to tell Adam that he is now, he had talked to me and said he would do anything we needed. And Prashant took on the planning department. Make this a little bigger. He took on planning department and insurance. And Adam, that means you are doing ZBA, zoning board, and the Conservation Commission.
Thank you. I wasn't here, but I was watching afterwards the
Okay.
meeting, so yeah.
Anyway.
I'm aware.
Thanks for volunteering, so to speak. In general, right now, there's nothing to do. I don't remember the last time the ZBA actually had something that would affect us. I'm not sure they maybe ever did, but Conservation Commission can. Anyway, so there's nothing to do exactly, although you can reach out to these groups and say, hey, I'm the liaison for the Advisory Finance Committee. If you ever have any questions for us, you can contact me. Generally, people don't contact us. Thanks to both of you for volunteering, and Prashant has also taken on the heavy lifting over there by the DPW too, so appreciate him reading the snow reports, and Rod doesn't miss them, probably, right?
I've asked for some additional information on that, and I think they have highly obliged by giving that information once the snow reports start appearing. Like some kind of, when they put those expenses, I think those expenses appear on those reports, but I have no clue what those expenses are related to or what that
Okay.
vendor is related to. So if we can get some sort of two-liner, what sort of expense that is, it just helps in knowing something that I'm getting but I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. So for those of you who hadn't seen it, but there'll be a line, and it'll be some shop where you can buy a spring for a pickup truck or something, and
Yeah.
you know, that's what it says, but you don't, obviously, it's a part for one of the cars they have to repair, but a little more dialogue or something, or
Yeah.
description might be helpful
Yeah.
on the expenses. Or at the end of the year, they sometimes fill up the salt shed with the lower price year before, but that's good to know that that's why
Yeah.
we're doing things. So I think the main purpose of us getting that report are in the years where we're probably gonna go over, so we have an idea
That it's
that
coming.
it's coming. Since I've been in this chair and getting the reports, it hasn't been even close to
I was gonna
running
say,
out of money with the whole
There's-
last year.
There's an interesting quirk, and I'm not sure I've got it quite right, but if we underspend our snow and ice budget, then we have problems later in terms of the fall, like, there's some weird quirk about having too much extra in the snow and ice budget, and we may need to look into that if it's not gonna be a snowy year, because we've had 2 really light snow years.
Yeah, so we did end up using up all the expense budget, but not the labor, obviously.
I think what I've been told is if you lower it, it's harder to raise it again, so they don't lower it.
Okay, because there was also an issue with, in the past, there was also an issue with if you way underspend it, then they get annoyed at you too. I I just know that that we're close to that if that is an issue. And I could be totally wrong. John may
Do
know.
you know they who? Whom?
So that's, who's they?
The state.
Well,
In
I don't
terms-
think we're that wildly underspent
I could see the
on it.
taxpayers being annoyed.
Right.
I don't recall, in my years on the committee, I don't recall anybody caring about it being underspent, but I definitely recall that because it has to be based on some average over time, that lowering it could make it hard to deficit spend a great deal if we had like one of those giant blizzard seasons. So I think that's the reason why it tends to stay stable or go up and not go down. So that's my
Okay.
recollection.
Okay.
Yes, well, and also nowadays, they at least have to pay, in order to attract people to plow, they have to pay some amount of stipend whether or not the people plow, so
Right.
some amount of it is
Just
gonna
paid.
go away anyway, so you're prepared
Right.
in the materials. Anybody have any liaison reports? Anything new? I'm interested in your committee, probably.
Yes,
The
yeah.
Building
so-
committee.
Yeah, so our next golf club meeting is next Thursday, where we should get the preliminary cost estimates, so that's critical. I think there's a debate right now about whether we bring something to the fall town meeting or not. My general thought would be we need to keep pushing ahead and not get stalled. But there's also a question about how this gets funded, whether the town does the shell and the restaurant does the fit out, or whether we develop some sort of private partnership where somebody could come in and do the whole building and we would lease back a certain amount of it. So I know Christie was meeting with bond counsel, and I haven't heard the results of that yet, but should know more next Thursday. And then we really haven't been brought up to speed on the community center, but I did peek at the budget that's on the website and was a little astonished that they're talking in that magnitude, so I think there's gonna be a bigger discussion about that. I shouldn't be astonished, is that what
No,
you're saying?
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay.
I was a little astonished also. So I actually went to the meeting. The comments were interesting. The price tag is high, so then I did the math to figure out what that means for me as a taxpayer. If anyone wants, I have a spreadsheet where you can plug in your home's value and see how much the community center will cost you every year for 20 years. Because I'm that
With an
person.
estimated interest. Right.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, a reasonable estimated interest. I'm in the process of issuing debt. I have a reasonable. But yeah, so it's pretty steep price tag.
Depends how much they borrow and how much they get out of other funds, or if they sell the other building, and, I mean, it's still a fair estimate, because you could have
Yeah,
done something else
right.
with it.
So
I
that
was a little
that's the argument I
surprised,
was
too.
going to make. So we talk about if we use other funds for it, then it reduces the debt. True, but those funds would have paid for something else. So it's
Right.
not like it was use it or lose it, right? The Pulte money
Well,
is.
if
But
you-
not the sale of the senior center wouldn't.
That is true. That is the one exception.
Right.
The sale of the
Right.
senior center
There-
is
there
the
would be no
one
alternate use for
source
that if-
that would be new.
Yep.
And genuinely offsets the cost of the community center, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you move
Yep.
the senior center, absolutely. So I would agree 100%. But any other source of funds is funds
Oh,
we
yeah.
could have used
No,
on something
absolutely.
else.
So, yeah, I agree. I was somewhat surprised by the order of magnitude, and I probably shouldn't have been once I started thinking about it. But when I first thought of it, the rec department was moving upstairs at almost no expense, right? We're gonna put up some partitions
Yeah.
or something, and then downstairs, it was just gonna be drywall or something, but
Which is
I didn't
absolutely
realize.
how I perceived
And
it.
also,
And I
I
should
did
have.
not realize that you couldn't get room upstairs to downstairs without building a new.
Well, you could.
Well,
You
you can.
just
You
have
just have
to
to go
use the other
outside.
door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I was surprised about that too.
Wait, what's
Because
going
I
on?
thought there was a stairwell in the back too, but I
There
didn't
is, but it's
realize
a-
that's
it's
kind of
a
a loading
loading
dock
dock.
stair.
Yeah.
Stair.
Well, and so to be
The two
fair,
properties have two entrances sort of right now, the first
Oh.
floor and the second
Oh,
floor.
one was the department store and
Yes,
one
one's
is
the-
the sports club.
Right.
Okay.
But so one of the things that they had talked about at the meeting, the architect mentioned, they evaluated the option of using the existing stairwell and opening up so that you would enter from there, and it's less appealing because it's not at the front of the building. So instead, we're gonna put an elevator and stairwell in the middle of the building.
well, the proposal is. I don't know what we're
Well, that's why I said we, right? Their suggestion, their idea is to move it to,
doing. Anyway, that'd certainly
So
be
it's-
interesting.
As I read the article right now, we're gonna be voting on the full cost of design and construction for the community center?
I don't know what they're bringing, or the article, I don't know. Whether they will just ask to get to the next level of design, sort of like what the library did. You know, like that you agree. I think to get construction now would be really hard to do, because there's no way that the estimates, they're still talking about doing details and figuring out stuff, so I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. I would expect that this would be more of a design thing to come back with solid construction costs at another town meeting.
so the
But-
placeholder article does say, design and construction,
Yeah.
but again, it's not.
And maybe it's some construction, because the stuff upstairs, they might be ready to go on. You know, there's some of these things that are trivial, and there's others that they want to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
They haven't told us, so.
More to come.
Yeah.
they talked about the community centers, the rec department is actually moving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
next
they
month.
can
Yeah,
use that space
right.
as is, they don't.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, other liaisons, no? We're in a sort of 2-a-month library cycle of going through the repairs and pushing them on things where we could take some cost out. And we have a meeting next week, I think, too, where they're supposed to get back to us on, Rod had suggested maybe the synthetic roof tiles, and that they're supposed to come back with some information on that next meeting. But the big news from the library is that the state board has agreed to the waivers that were asked for. Most importantly, the front steps do not have to be accessible. They can be left in their form as long as the accessibility is through the side. And that's about a $500,000 swing. It's more than a $500,000 swing left or right. And they also agreed to the remediation of the other areas where they've come up with a rule now where you need 2 ways to get out accessibly, but one of them can be kind of a safe holding spot that you can be rescued from, which is, again, less money than doing a lot of other things, but also probably works pretty well in a sprinklered building, which you would have. So they're having progress, and that's still, the plan is to come to annual town meeting with the repair request. At that time, I think they're gonna give a little update at this town meeting, just sort of what's going on. Okay. Future draft agendas and calendar, I kind of feel like we've covered that enough. Just want to point out some other things that are coming up beyond that. On September 26th, the Thursday, we're going to do at the tri-board budget summit for fiscal 2026. That'll be a nighttime one. That's not the all-day thing that happens in January. We will have meeting, we don't have some meetings because of some holidays, but the warrant is now been moved back a week on closing till October 1st due to a conflict. So after October 1st, when the meeting warrant actually closes, we have a meeting on the 7th and the 10th. And that's, so we have 2 meetings to basically approve the R&R at that point. So that's why pushing ahead now makes sense. The 14th is a holiday, so we wouldn't have a meeting on the 14th, and probably by the 15th, we have to send it in. So That's about what we will have. It's not a huge message anyway, it's special town meeting, it's not as much as with the budget, so I think we'll be fine, we just gotta kinda keep on track, and, if there are some, you know, if there are 14 citizen petitions, we just might not get to our recommendations until town meeting, or we'll just say no, or whatever we'll say, but we may not have time to have them all in for visits anyway. We'll see. Okay, so that's good. Town meeting's still on the 21st, which is a Monday night. All right, next up, approve minutes of August 15th. Let me make a motion. Don't all speak at once.
Move to recommend we accept the meeting minutes from August 15th,
Okay.
with the provision that the file name get renamed from 9/9 to 9/5.
So file name?
Yeah, the file name is the 9/9/24 meeting, is what it looks like, is what I can see. When in fact, I believe it's 9/5, that'd be today.
That's
Wait,
Um,
wait, you don't want today, you're not approving today's minutes, you want to.
Oh, wait, you know what? I'm approving, I think I'm talking
at
about
the
the date
agenda.
that's on the agenda, not on the meeting minutes. So,
Okay.
no proviso for changes to the meeting minutes.
Okay,
You
yeah,
were
no,
as
really
written.
confused.
it says
Minutes
August
as written.
15th on them, and the
Yeah, it's
file
August
says
15th.
draft 2 minutes, August 15th. Okay, so we're all good.
It's my mistake,
right.
sorry.
So,
McMahon seconds.
Okay, so we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor? That is 8. All opposed? All
Abstaining.
abstaining? 1, okay. So we're 8-0-1, and Beth. Fine. Okay, anybody have anything else before we adjourn till Monday night, other than, did you get any questions from people ahead of time for the thing? Okay, so we might as well just meet and greet and see how it goes.
Well, and so what I had asked is just to give a sort of a rundown of their process and sort of their expectations going into it, and I think that we can sort of just have a collaborative conversation about how they see the process going, and if there are opportunities for us to suggest some changes or provide feedback at that point. So,
Sounds great.
One other announcement is just that we've gotten notices from, at the state level, about mosquitoes and keeping yourself out, not being out at dusk or from dusk to dawn, and if you've got standing water, to dump it. Because equine encephalitis, eastern equine encephalitis and West Nile virus have both been found relatively locally in mosquitoes.
True. Sure enough. Okay, motion to adjourn, please.
Shafford, motion to adjourn.
Clap
Lundberg,
second.
Okay, no debate, all in favor. It's 9:00. We are adjourned. Thank you, Westborough TV. Good night, and we'll see you Monday night.